more than Rav Kook, says the Apikoros. I hope he's going to see this. Let him take me to court for saying such things for Motzi Shem on him. I want to make a Kiddush Hashem by exposing the Apikosim that are living nowadays. Great people, he says, the Apikoros, like Rav Kook and those that went on his ways, they understood you have to look at the big picture. The economy of a state, thousands of farmers. You can't run a economy of farming in a time of tacharut. How do you say that?
Competition.
Competition. We're living in a time of competition. I don't understand. In the old world, there wasn't competition. Okay, what do I understand? But it means there's bigger competition, he probably means. All of a sudden, he's an economist also. Here it says that he's the head of a law school. All of a sudden, he knows economy also. You see that? He's allowed to say opinions about economy. But who am I? I'm just a small mentor sitting in a corner. What could I say? So he says Rav Kook saw the big picture. So what did he do? He found solutions, creative solutions he found within the halacha. The Torah is something that you need solutions to keep the Torah. Pitro not yetzirat yimyani. Torah is a problem. His law school, that's life itself. That's called living. But Torah is a problem that you have to solve it. And Rav Kook found this solution. Now you understand how if you're not Omo B'Torah, it brings the kofar baker. I don't know if you have to explain any further. I don't know. I don't think you have to give big esberim. The Apikoros showed us what it means when you're not Omo B'Torah. So Torah becomes a problem that you have to solve. And Rav Kook solved the problem. He saw the big picture. I want to tell you something. The Gdolei Yisrael nowadays, they're working, and the Askanim of nowadays are working Yomim Kalelos to raise money for the Keren HaShviz to help support the farmers. Yeah. They're working to help individual farmers to be able to keep shmita. And they don't see the big picture. Yeah, right. They don't see the big picture very good because they're very great people. So they don't see the big picture. They see this individual farmer and this individual farmer. And they say, how are they want to keep the Torah, but they need parnasa. So they take care of them, they work for them. I have a friend, his name is David Blum. He's a friend of Ram Mordechai also. So I asked him, what does his father do now? His father was one of the big Askanim of Agudas Yisrael in America, Shmuel Blum. Says he works for Keren HaShviz. See that? He works for Keren HaShviz. He's working for the farmers. He's trying to raise money to support the farmers to be able to keep Shemitah. Rav Kook saw the big picture. And the Gdolei Yisrael that wanted to keep Shemitah, they only looked at the little picture. Shetiyu amelim b'Torah. When without Omo Torah, you become a kofar beaker, because without Omo Torah, you don't see how Torah is important. Torah becomes a problem. I don't know. And then he goes weiter and he says, isn't it wonderful that nowadays certain mitzvahs came back to life? Hundreds of years, the halachas atliyas ba'aretz were forgotten. And nowadays they're learned, and it's true. And it's true. That is right. There's a certain akuda. Even from Haman there was some nakuda that came out. Here he says a sicha noah. Where does it say that somebody was zoche because he said a sicha noah? Who does it say? Some big Rosh. What was it? Sancherev, because he talked b'shvach of Eretz Yisrael, so he was zoche. So he says, Baruch Hashem, that nowadays the halachos atliyas words are learned. They came to awakening. Good, very nice. And the meanwhile he says, but there's all of a sudden new chumris v'hidurim shelo sa'aram avoseinu v'avoseinu. What? that they keep shmita, they do chumras v'hidurim that we didn't see by our... All of a sudden he wants to go with the Masoros of Avoseinu, of Avos Avoseinu. Of course in Hungary they didn't keep shmita, right, yeah. Even in Lita they didn't keep shmita. Avos Avoseinu did not keep shmita. But Baruch Hashem, we were zocher, v'nasan lanu, as Eretz Yisrael, v'chnisanu l'Eretz Yisrael, so we keep shmita. So he makes leitones that nowadays there's no chumras, and it's going to come a day that every tznonik, every radish is going to have a hechsher on it. Who are you making fun of? Apikar is what you are. You're making fun of Gedolei Yisrael. You're making fun of the Tzadikei Adorosh that kept Shmita. Yeah. Every radish will have a hechsher. Says that. What are you laughing? Who are you laughing at? And then he, okay, so that's it. Now I'm going to say like this. 1 second. And then
about Rav Kook and keeping shmita.
I'm going to get to it. But and then he quotes from Rav Dr. Aaron Lichtenstein. Okay, very terrible things what he says. Now I just want to say one more thing. Apikaris asks a question. Everybody's talking about shmita of the karka. What about shmita of the people? Why don't you think about the people? The people are not going to have parnosim. I saw here a lashon from one of the Gedolei Yerushalayim, and I'm soon going to tell a little bit more. I'm going to quote from this sefer. But meanwhile, this sefer is called Minchas Yerushalayim, and it's about shmita. I don't know who the machaber is, but it's on Inyane Shviz, and it was put out by some kollel, Medrash Minchas Yerushalayim. It was put out in last Shmita, and now they put out again in this Shmita. And they tell the whole story of the Shmita and about Rav Kook. But before I talk more about it, if the producer will let us, I just wanted to quote a line from like this. There was a big Godem Godo and a Tzaddik in Yerushalayim. And I don't know too much about it, but he was called the Rosh Bezin of the Prussian, Rav Moshe Nochem Wallenstein.
Oh.
Now, I was in Cheder in Kamenetz.
And Machutin with Shapiro Breslov family.
Oh, it could be. So 50 years ago, or maybe 48 years ago, there was a Moshe Nochem Wallenstein in the Cheder with us. Must have been his great-grandchild. I saw a picture of this Rav Moshe Nochem Wallenstein. He looks like a holy person. I imagine that he was Mamish Kulo Torah, Mufresh from Olam Hazel. Not because he's from my group, I'm saying it. That's what I just really think. He wrote all kundras against the Heter Machir of Rav Kook, as did other Gedolim. But he says, in the year Tov Reish Ayin, which was what I'm going to talk about now, that was Shmita. Tov Reish Ayin is 1910, and that was Shmita. And there was a lot to do, a big pulmus, a big, a fight, I don't know.
Discussion.
About this, Halavai would only be a discussion. It was a big pulmus was going on about the Shmita. So the Rishonim made a great meeting in the Moshava Rishon LeZion, because that's where there were vineyards, and that's where they made wine. And these Rishonim, so they made, the Anshe Yerushalayim didn't want to buy the grapes from anybody in Eretz Yisrael because they were with Heter Mechira. Now, what's wrong with eating the grapes? What's wrong is like this. In your Dominic Yerushalayim there's a big machlokes Rishonim between Rashi and Tosfos. If Shomer v'nevad is muter or also. You watch the field, you guard the field, you lock the field, or you work in the field. is it mutter to eat the fruit or not? And the minig Yerushalayim was that it's also. So Rav Kook made a heter mechira on these fields. But they didn't want to rely on his heter, and since they worked in the fields, so they didn't want to buy grapes from anybody in the whole Eretz Yisrael. So it came to Rishon LeZion where there were vineyards, and they made a big meeting, and they were macharef u'megadif to Anshe Yerushalayim. Says Reb Moshe Nachum Wallenstein, wrote a beautiful line over here. V'dibru b'Hashem u'b'Moshe avdo. Yeah, but they talked against Hashem and against Moshe Avdo, which means the Gdolei Ador. What did they understood what Hashem is? They understood what Moshe Avdo is. They didn't understand anything. But that was his. Keilu. Now this is what I wanted to quote. Keilu kebiyochol afilu balabayis einu yochol otzi kelov mishon. You remember where it says that? That's the Meraglim said that. The Meraglim can't say, Afilu Balabais can't take out his kalim from there. Kibyochel klapi mala Hashem. He can't, with the Goyim and Eretz Yisrael is so strong, said the Meraglim, Afilu Hashem can't fight against him. Of course, they were Gdolei Olam. You have to understand what they meant. They meant that the tumor, the klipa is so big, said you can't go against it. Okay, whatever they meant. But Moshe Nachum Wallenstein, I mean, he must have been such a tzaddik that he used. It's not magia lahem to use what Chazal say on the Meraglim, which they were themselves great people, to use it on these people. It's like giving them a lot more than what they deserve. But he says they talked kilu balbais ukilu that he can't give parnasa to those that keep shmita. Exactly what this Apikoros says. This Apikoros says the same thing. He says, how can you run a Medina if you keep Shmita? How can you run a Medina, says this big Apikoros, that he's the head of a law school in Ganser Meiser. So Moshe Nachum Wallenstein, the old Yerushalayim Yid, that because she probably had what to eat, he says, what, the Balbais can't take out Caleb Misham, Hashem can't give Parnasa to the Shemri Shmita. I'm going to say like this. What was the story? What was the story of Tofrei Shain? 1910. It was Shmita and Rav Kook made his heter mechira. And the Chachmei Yerushalayim, they were Gdolei Olam over there. There was Rab Chaim Berlin, there was the Ridvaz, there were the. So what did they do? And there was one Yid. It's mamish a pele ploy. One Yid in the whole Eretz Yisrael that he wanted to keep Shmita Kedim in his vineyard. And besides grapes, he also had Zeisim Ushkedim here. So he wanted to keep Shmita, so he sent to and he lived in Rehovot. Now, he was a grandson of Chaim Volozhner, unless I don't understand what it says. Anyway, he asked, I want to make a Otzer Bezdin, just like they did in the time of the Beis HaMikdash. Now, Otzer Bezdin, I can't give a whole talk now about what Otzer Bezdin means. But Bekitzer, it's a Tosefta in Shvis, and we learned in the Kolel this last winter, and we talked about it. Bekitzer, Otzer Bezdin means that the Bezdin sends their shluchim, and they pick the fruit, they put it in the Otzer of Bezdin, and the Baal Bais only gets he doesn't get anything. In fact, it's hefker. And the Bezdin picks all the fruit, and they give it out to the Anim. Now, the Chachmei Yerushalayim gave a heter to you take money for the tircha. He's gonna pick the fruits himself. So they'll take money for the work, but not for the fruits. Yeah, he's gonna lose money. He's not gonna take a price for the fruits. And this Yid, Reb Tzvi Hirsch Khan, wanted to do that, and he sent to the Bezdin of the Eida Chredus in Yerushalayim. So they made a whole heskem, and they made a whole list of conditions. Beketzer, his field was hefker, and they picked all the grapes, and they brought it to Yerushalayim, and everybody paid a little bit. They paid for the tircha of picking the grapes, and they bought only from his grapes. Came along with the Yafu Rov, which his name was Rav Kook, and he said, how can you do such a thing? You're taking away parnasa from all the vineyards.
Up.